Something was stolen in front of the entire world, and nobody wants to talk about it. A goal celebrated, a stadium erupting, grown men in white shirts collapsing to their knees in disbelief and joy. And then, in the span of 90 seconds, everything they had fought for was quietly erased by a decision made in a dark room, by men most of you will never see, using angles most of you will never question. This is the story of how Germany walked into a World Cup knockout match expecting glory, and walked out asking whether football itself had betrayed them. Stay with us, because what happened that night in the desert is not just a match, it is a warning. The scale is almost impossible to overstate. Germany, four-time world champions, a footballing empire built on discipline, precision, and an almost mechanical refusal to lose games that matter. Paraguay, ranked far below them, written off before the whistle even blew, given no chance by pundits, bookmakers, or the algorithm-driven predictions flooding every screen in the world. 90 minutes of football stretched into 120, a disallowed goal, a shootout, and a result that has already been called one of the greatest upsets in modern World Cup memory. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this match will be argued about for the next decade, and why the decision that changed everything may never have been the right one. Before we go further, if you want the full breakdown that nobody else on this platform is giving you, hit subscribe and turn notifications on, because what is coming next is the part they do not want replayed. Here is the central contradiction. Germany, on paper, did everything right. They dominated possession, they created the chances, they battered the Paraguayan goal from every angle. And yet, when the final whistle blew on regular time, the scoreboard refused to reward them, one goal each. A stalemate that Paraguay had defended like their lives depended on it, throwing bodies into every shot, blocking crosses with faces and shins, screaming at each other to hold the line for one more minute, and then one more after that. Germany looked frustrated, Paraguay looked possessed, and that single truth, that possession does not equal victory, would haunt every second of what came next. Extra time began with a nervous energy that seemed to bleed out of the stadium and into every living room watching. Germany pressed harder, Paraguay bent, but somehow did not break. And then, in the 113th minute, it happened. A rehearsed corner, a flick at the near post, a German striker rising above the crowd and burying the header into the top corner with the kind of finish that ends careers and defines legacies. The bench emptied. Coaches sprinted onto the pitch. Fans in the stands were already filming themselves screaming. Germany had done it. Germany had survived the scare. Germany was through. Except they weren't. The referee's finger went to his ear. The stadium screen flickered, and that single word, the word that has ruined more football matches than any tactical mistake ever could, appeared in white letters against a black background. Check. VAR was checking the goal. Think about that for a moment. 90 minutes of blood, 13 minutes of extra time exhaustion, a goal scored in front of 80,000 people. And now, somewhere in a room lit by monitors, 3 officials were drawing lines on a screen to decide whether history would be rewritten. 2 minutes passed. Then 3. The German players stood frozen, hands on hips, staring at the giant screen as it replayed the build-up from angles nobody in the stadium had even seen live. A boot, a shoulder, a fraction of a jersey. The lines were drawn, the verdict came. Offside. By a margin so small it could be measured in millimeters, by a body part so marginal that half the analysts watching could not even agree on which player was being measured, the goal was cancelled. Erased, wiped from the record as if it had never happened. And that is when Germany erupted. Not the crowd. The players, the bench, the coaching staff, screaming at the fourth official, screaming at the sky. One veteran defender was seen shaking his head over and over, mouthing the same word to nobody in particular. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Because in that moment, every German player on that pitch understood something the rest of the world was only beginning to grasp. The match was no longer theirs to win. It had been handed, by a decision most fans could not even see clearly, to the underdogs. Pull back further and the picture grows darker. Because this was not just any disallowed goal. This was a goal that would have sent a 4-time world champion into the quarterfinals. A goal that would have justified a tournament, saved a manager's job, and confirmed the narrative every European broadcaster had been selling for months. Instead, the whistle blew for the end of extra time, and the players walked, dragging their legs, toward the center circle. Penalties. The one place Germany was never supposed to lose. The one arena where their history is written in gold. Germany, the country that had turned penalty shootouts into a national art form, was now being asked to defend that legacy against a team who had nothing to lose, and a goalkeeper who had spent the entire second half looking like a man possessed. And here is where it changes completely. Because the moment those penalties began, something shifted in the air. Paraguay's goalkeeper, a name most casual viewers could not have pronounced 2 hours earlier, walked to his line like a man who already knew what was going to happen. He stared down the first German taker. He did not blink. He did not move until the ball was struck. And then he flew, low and left, and the ball smacked into his gloves with a sound that seemed to silence the entire stadium. The second German penalty hit the crossbar. The third was saved again, this time to the right, the goalkeeper guessing correctly for the second time in a row. And by now the Paraguayan bench was on its feet, arms in the air, sensing something historic. Meanwhile, one by one, the Paraguayan takers stepped up and buried their kicks with the calm of men who had already made peace with the moment. No hesitation, no fear, just clean, ruthless finishing. And when the final penalty rippled the net, the goalkeeper sprinted the length of the pitch, tore off his shirt, and disappeared under a pile of teammates who understood, even in that chaos, that they had just written themselves into the history books forever. Before we go deeper into what this really means, if this is the kind of coverage you have been searching for, the honest kind that does not flinch from the uncomfortable questions, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what comes next is the part the highlight reels will never show you. Because here is the truth nobody wants to sit with. That disallowed goal, the one erased by a line drawn in a room, may have changed the entire shape of this World Cup. Germany was not just eliminated, Germany was broken. Cameras caught players in tears on the pitch. One young midfielder had to be helped to his feet by a teammate. The manager stood alone near the touchline, staring at nothing, as if trying to compute a reality he had not prepared for. And somewhere in the German Football Federation, phones were already ringing, careers already ending, an entire cycle of planning already unraveling in real time. And Paraguay. Paraguay danced. Paraguay sang. Paraguay reminded the world of something football has been trying to forget in the age of data and expected goals and pre-match probabilities. That the game, at its heart, is still human, still unpredictable, still capable of humbling giants on any given night, in any given stadium, with the right combination of courage, discipline, and one goalkeeper willing to become a legend. But sit with this for a moment. What if the goal had stood? What if those millimeters had fallen the other way? What if the lines had been drawn a fraction differently, or the camera angle had been one frame off? Germany walks through. Paraguay goes home. The entire tournament reshapes itself. A different final, different champions, a different history. All decided by a decision most of us will never fully understand, made by officials most of us will never see, in a room most of us will never enter. That is the deeper story here. Not the goal, not the shootout, not even the upset. It is the quiet, unsettling realization that the biggest matches in the world are now decided as much by technology as by talent. That a striker can do everything right, place the ball perfectly, celebrate with his teammates, and still have it all taken away by a millimeter he never knew existed. That the beautiful game, the game of instinct and freedom and impossible moments, is now being refereed frame by frame, pixel by pixel, until nothing feels certain anymore. Germany will recover. Federations do. New coaches will be appointed, new players will emerge, new tournaments will come. But something was lost that night in the desert, and it was not just a match. It was the illusion that the best team, on the best night, will always find a way. Because on this night, the best team on paper did find a way, and it still was not enough. So what do you think? Was the decision correct? A triumph of technology finally getting it right after decades of human error? Or was it the moment football finally lost something it can never get back? That raw, uncomplicated joy of watching a ball hit the net and knowing, without waiting, without checking, without praying, that the goal was real. Drop your answer in the comments below. Tell us where you stood when that whistle blew. Tell us whether you celebrated with Paraguay or grieved with Germany. And if this is the kind of story you want more of, the kind nobody else is telling with this level of honesty, hit like, hit subscribe, and stay with us. Because in football, as in life, the moments that define us are rarely the ones we planned for. They are the ones that arrive without warning, rewrite everything we thought we knew, and leave us asking a single, uncomfortable question long after the stadium lights go dark. Was it fair? Was it ever fair? And will we ever really know?